What's going on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, or wherever the hell you're watching from? I'm Anthony Greeno from True Crime Investigates, Investigation Unsolved. Currently, I am transitioning to another channel where I've developed a brand new podcast that I will be converting into audio and video after the completion of Murder on the Monon, which I anticipate will be completed on 2/14/2025. At this time, Greeno Productions is seeking knowledgeable, dedicated, and goal-driven to assist with pre-production planning for the series, as I am at a standstill. I think I might be overanalyzing my work, but I tend to draw a blank sometime. The team of individuals must be willing to adhere to confidentiality and non-disclosure, but also be able to remember and cite or find certain material related to the case and every little detail that has taken place. One tends to begin getting tunnel vision, and with that, is no room for growth and development. But with a brainstorming group who can speak freely, share ideas, gather photos, videos, and documents that will help this docuseries not only tell a truthful story of Abby and Libby, but the complete story. On February 14th, 2025, it'll reflect on the past. That day, Valentine's Day, is a day marking 8 long years that I have been following this case. There have been struggles along the way, for many. If you are interested in listening to my in-depth true crime coverage on the Delphi Murders and other true crime cases, then you want to subscribe to the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can even follow us on Facebook to catch live streams. Just head on over and hit the like button. Share your favorite clips and episodes to your friends. Episodes 1 and 2 are out now, both covering the Delphi Murders case. The case is over with talk of an appeal, but I'm here to tell you about it all. Right now on the True Crime Rewind podcast, subscribe to the new YouTube channel for live streams and case discussion with call-in nights and giveaways. Learn more about the release of Murder on the Monon as we reveal more behind-the-scenes footage and promotional content, detailing clips of the series for the future.
In episode 1 of the True Crime Rewind, Delphi Murders, final chapter, Greeno and Marv broke down the key aspects of the case, timeline, trial and sentencing for the bridge guy, Richard Allen, but left us with hope for the future that the event that has haunted our dreams is finally over after 8 long years. In episode 2, the hellish nightmare returns. The Odinism theory debunked by experts, podcasters, law enforcement, judges, and even Richard Allen himself comes back into the spotlight, pushing people to join in on the campaign to free a convicted killer. Search for the handle. Use the @ symbol to enter the handle for the channel at True Crime Rewind Podcast. The link can be found in the channel description.
Well, that means that I gotta get my ass in gear and refute these bullshit claims. If you're ready, so am I. So hold on social media, cause I'm about to uncover new information in the fight for transparency in the case against Richard Allen. Will the court adhere to their own laws and orders? Find out now in the new podcast, where human and computer combine to bring you the True Crime Rewind, to break down crimes, uncover the truth, and get the answers that you deserve.
You heard it straight from the final boss himself. Anthony Greeno is coming back to on-air live stream broadcasting, and it's already started. So make sure that you drop what you're doing. Find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Make this new channel grow by liking the page on Facebook, share it with your friends, and together we will continue to be a voice for the victims of unsolved crimes. Did I mention a nightly podcast on the day's events? Oh hey, by the way, old Anthony Greeno celebrates his 39th birthday this Sunday, January 5th. So, if you want to drop some love on this birthday boy, maybe send him a gift, check out the Amazon wish list, or make an anonymous contribution, or possibly, you could just feel generous. Hit him up on paypal.me/Anthony Greeno and or Cash App by hitting the $ symbol, followed by cash the number 4, Anthony Greeno, and write in the comment note section, Greeno Birthday Fund.
What that means is, any funds I get will immediately go to upgrades on this channel, bringing us back to professional streams, new guests, and an entirely new crime-solving investigative tactics. Currently, new audio wireless mics are needed, as well as a drone and an HDMI splitter. We are almost fully equipped with the gear we need to take us to another level of video production. However, since I have requested documents in the Richard Allen case moving for transparency, I anticipate a pretty high cost for the items I've requested. So, if you want to contribute to that so that you can see what I saw in court that proves Richard Allen's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Understand what I'm telling you? Just that you need to take your ass over to the True Crime Rewind podcast.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us on TikTok, Facebook,
or wherever the hell you're watching from. On that note, everybody, I'm Anthony Greeno from the True Crime Rewind,
a podcast that advances crime, fighting with an analytical approach. With that being said, I hope to see you there.
Keep it.
Wait. Now, just hold on a minute.
Hey, you just ruined my out phrase.
Exactly. And you're just going to leave them hanging like that without even showing them the documents.
What do you mean?
She kind of does have a point, Greeno.
I gotcha. Yeah, just like he said, they don't want to hear you tell us what you did, but they want to conversate with you on air.
How about we do a document read?
Now that's what I'm talking about. To my trusty narrator guy, lead us in. Listen up, all of you interested in the Delphi Murders post-conviction relief. Do you think Richard Allen is innocent?
Even though he was proven guilty.
Then you're going to love this newest filing in the case of Richard Allen in Carroll County, Indiana.
Today, we bring you a fight for transparency, truth, and justice. This is a Freedom of Information Act combined with Indiana's own version.
Access to Public Records Act. We are shedding light into the darkness to uncover the truth and ultimately
shut these conspiracy cranks the f*** up.
It's about damn time.
Let's read the filing, marked on the court's record on January 3rd, 2025.
Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. Access to Public Records Act, Indiana Code, Parc 5-1431. State of Indiana, County of Carroll. This correspondence is in True Crime Network News Investigations. Authorized Agent, Affiliate Producer, Anthony Greeno. Title, Executive Director and Producer, Carroll Circuit Court and/or Allen County Court, Special Appointment. Federal Law, Freedom of Information Act. The Federal Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, is codified 5 U.S.C. 5.2. This law grants the public the right to request access to records from any federal agency. It is designed to ensure transparency and accountability in the federal government by requiring agencies to disclose information unless it falls under one of 9 exemptions, which protect interests such as personal privacy, national security, and law enforcement. Indiana State Law, Access to Public Records Act, APRA. In Indiana, the equivalent of the FOIA is known as the Access to Public Records Act, APRA, codified at Indiana Code 5-1431. This law provides the public with the right to access records maintained by state and local government agencies. The APRA aims to ensure that government operations are transparent and that the public has access to information about government activities. Dear Carroll Allen County Clerk of Court, under the Indiana Access to Public Records, I am requesting an opportunity to inspect or obtain copies of public records that pertain to requested item A and 7 audio call recordings made from Allen's place of incarceration related to the calls made by defendant Richard Allen to his wife, mother, in which the state has labeled confessions. Requested item B, a 43-second video recording made by Liberty German, victim 2, labeled Bridge Guy video, where Allen is seen walking on the Monon High Bridge towards the girls to order them down the hill. Copies requested are unedited version and enhanced version. This video is not covered under the sealing of the crime scene photos that depict the deceased bodies of victim 1 and victim 2. Requested item C, photos and video of Richard Allen's 2016 Ford Focus captured on Hoosier Harvestor security camera, as well as photos taken by the investigationist team of Allen's car at the CVS parking lot during the course of the investigation. Requested item D, interrogation videos of Richard Allen, interrogations with Liggett, Mullins, as well as Holman, and therefore are available for access for public and media under the scope of law. The scope and definition defined by Indiana law makes these specific documents, but not limited to other articles that meet criteria, not only to members of a media organization under 1 Rule 2.17, nor must the requirements specify only those deemed a member of the Broadcasters Association or Press Club of Indiana. All documents requested that qualify as an article available for public access do not qualify under the definition of the order in the ruling the Honorable Judge presiding as being an audio exhibit, photograph, or video within the nature of which the order was issued. These photos do not depict graphic photographs of the deceased victims, nor does it infringe on the defendant's mental health records and confidentiality. Therefore, under Indiana law and the Federal Freedom of Information Act in accord with the Access to Public Records Act within the state of Indiana, federal law, and state law requires that these exhibits must be released and provided to the recipient of the person requesting this information. Please specify the duration and costs, if any, of each item individually as well as a grand total for all items together. If the items are not available at your department, then please provide the information of where the records could be obtained. The requested information is in the public interest and will contribute significantly to the public's understanding of transparency and accountability to ensure the ability to place trust within the judicial branch of the government. This request is made by True Crime Network News by and through an investigative journalist operating under the DBA True Crime Network News, to wit, Anthony Greeno, dedicated to uncovering and presenting factual information about criminal cases. This information is not being sought for commercial purposes. The Indiana Access to Public Records Act requires a response time within 7 business days. If access to the records I am requesting will take longer than 7 days, please contact me with information about when I might expect copies or the ability to inspect the requested records, fees, and legal precedents. According to Indiana Code, paragraph 5.14.3.8, fees for copying public records are capped and must be reasonable. Specifically, the fee for copying documents may not exceed 10 cents, 0.10 per page for non-color copies, or 25 cents, 0.25 per page for color copies, with a actual cost to the agency of copying the document. Additionally, Indiana Code Corev 33.37.5.1 states that the document fee collected by the clerk may not exceed $1 per legal size or letter size page, including a page only partially covered with writing. Local ordinances or codes cannot overrule state law, as state law takes precedence. Any attempt to impose fees beyond what is allowed by state law is unlawful and unenforceable. Citizens have the right to ignore such unlawful demands. Case law references Knightstown Banner, LLC vs. Town of Knightstown. This case established that public agencies must provide access to public records unless they fall under specific exemptions. The court ruled that the town violated the Access to Public Records Act by failing to provide requested records in a timely manner. Evansville Courier and Press v. Vanderburgh County Health Department. This case reinforced that public records must be disclosed unless they are specifically exempted by law. The court held that the health department improperly withheld records related to restaurant inspections. Indianapolis Star, trustees of Indiana University. This case highlighted the importance of transparency in public institutions. The court ruled that the university must disclose records related to the compensation of its employees. Anderson v. Huntington County Board of Commissioners. This case emphasized that public agencies must respond to requests for public records within a reasonable time frame. The court found that the board violated the Access to Public Records Act by delaying its response. Consequences for non-compliance. If the agency overcharges or fails to respond appropriately to this request, it may face legal consequences. Under Indiana law, penalties for non-compliance can include court action to produce the records, payment of attorney's fees, and fines for knowingly and intentionally withholding public records.
YouTubers objecting to copying fees being charged in the Delphi double homicide case against Richard Allen. Anthony Greeno wrote a letter to Allen's Superior Court asking it to adhere to state law capping.
Additionally, non-compliance can result in negative publicity and damage to the public perception of the agency. Acknowledging electronic communication, e-service, email, or electronic transfer, USPS mail, with certificate of service and proof of receipt. All acceptable forms of receipt as required by law. Thank you for considering my request. Sincerely, Anthony Greeno. Hey, Alliston, what are you doing here?
I came to give you your script for the day.
All this says is click the Start Stream button now.
You already know.
On that note, everyone, let's get ready to live stream.
Coming up right now on the True Crime Rewind podcast.
What's going on, YouTube?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alliston, and I am the legal analyst who researches and advises the host of the True Crime Rewind on which cases are trending now based on his own analytics, and then designs a script that best fits the needs and wants of his viewers. Freedom of information. It's a cornerstone of democracy, right? Well, today we're diving into a case that's turning that idea on its head and raising some serious questions about transparency in our justice system.
Oh, that sounds intriguing, Alliston. So, what exactly is going on in this case? I mean, what's the story here?
So, we're looking at a recent public records request made by an investigative journalist named Anthony Greeno. He works for True Crime Network News and is seeking information about a high-profile criminal case in Carroll County, Indiana. The case involves a defendant named Richard Allen and is related to the murders of 2 young girls in Delphi.
I think I've heard about that case. It's been in the news for a while, hasn't it?
Exactly. What's fascinating is the breadth of Greeno's request. He's asking for audio recordings of the defendant's phone calls, a video recording made by one of the victims, and even interrogation videos. It's a pretty bold move, and it's raising some interesting questions about the balance between public interest and privacy.
Wow, that's quite a list. But isn't some of that information sensitive? How can a journalist just request all of this?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. Greeno is basing his request on 2 key laws: the Federal Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, and Indiana's Access to Public Records Act, APRA. These laws are designed to ensure government transparency by allowing citizens to request access to public records.
So you're saying these laws basically give the public the right to know what the government is up to?
In theory, yes, but it's not that simple. There are exceptions for things like national security, personal privacy, and ongoing investigations. Greeno is trying to navigate these exceptions by specifying that he's not requesting any sealed crime scene photos or anything that would infringe on the defendant's mental health records or confidentiality.
That sounds like a delicate balance to strike. How does he support his argument?
He's done his homework, that's for sure. I know because I assisted him with research and case studies to best come up with a conclusion on how to approach a strict Judge Gall. In the FOIA, Greeno cites specific laws and even case precedents in his request. For example, he mentions the Knightstown Banner case, which established that public agencies must provide access to records unless they fall under specific exemptions. He also cites other cases that reinforce the importance of transparency in public institutions.
Interesting. But what about the practical aspects? I mean, gathering all this information must be time-consuming and expensive, right?
You're right, and Greeno addresses that too. He cites Indiana law, which caps fees for copying public records. For example, non-color copies can't cost more than 10 cents per page. He also notes that the agency is required to respond to his request within 7 business days.
Only 7 days? That doesn't seem like much time for such a complex request. Also, how does he get the funding for these kinds of documents?
The viewers all play a pivotal role in working together to raise funds, pick up documents, and collaborate to explain exactly what's happening in the courtroom. Well, they don't necessarily have to fulfill the request in 7 days. They just need to acknowledge receipt and provide an estimate of when the records will be available. But you're right, it does put some pressure on the agency to act quickly.
So what happens if they don't comply or if they try to charge more than the law allows?
We've laid out the potential consequences pretty clearly. If the agency overcharges or fails to respond appropriately, they could face legal action. This might include court orders to produce the records, payment of attorney's fees, and even fines for knowingly withholding public records.
That's some serious leverage. But I can't help wondering about the motivations here. Why is Greeno pursuing this information so aggressively? I mean, what is the point?
He states that the information is in the public interest and will contribute to understanding transparency and accountability in the judicial system. He emphasizes that he's not seeking this for commercial purposes, but as part of his work as an investigative journalist. And from what we have discussed, he is trying to shut down the conspiracy theories being put out by the idiots online, trying to free a convicted killer. Who the hell does that kind of thing?
Chomos. That is who. Now I recall this crazy case. This is the one with the crazy ritual sacrifice and lots of twists and turns. I can remember this is all caused by people like James Wright, aka Hoosier cold case. Michael Osbrook, that one attorney obsessed with Greeno, constantly calling him a killer, trying to implicate innocent men like Anthony into the murders. Obviously, those claims hold no merit. Accomplishing the feat of securing the documents is going to be expensive and difficult. But I want to assure you that's a noble goal. But isn't there also an element of sensationalism here? I mean, true crime stories are incredibly popular these days.
You're not wrong about the popularity of true crime. It's a genre that's exploded in recent years. But I think it's important to consider the potential positive impacts of this kind of journalism, even when it focuses on sensational cases.
What kind of positive impacts are you thinking of?
Well, investigative journalism in true crime cases can serve several important functions. It can shed light on how our justice system works or doesn't work. It can bring attention to overlooked cases or new evidence. Sometimes it can even help solve cold cases or exonerate wrongly convicted individuals.
Those are good points. I hadn't really thought about it that way before.
Exactly. And in this case, Greeno's request also highlights the tension between the public's right to know and the need to protect sensitive information in ongoing investigations. It's a delicate balance that our society is constantly negotiating.
It really illustrates how complex the relationship between the media, the public, and the justice system can be, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a constant negotiation between different rights and responsibilities. On one hand, we have the public's right to information and the media's role in disseminating that information. On the other, we have the need to protect the integrity of ongoing investigations and the privacy rights of individuals involved in the justice system.
We have seen Judge Gull lay the hammer down on media outlets, even trying to rule that Greeno didn't qualify as a member of the media when other courts did. Another circumstance I believe will be heading to the Supreme Court soon. So what do you think the outcome of this request will be?
It's hard to say for certain. The agency might comply fully, partially, or not at all. If they don't comply, Greeno could potentially take legal action. But regardless of the outcome, this request is significant because it could set precedents for how similar requests are handled in the future.
That's fascinating. It's amazing how much can hinge on a single records request.
Exactly. And it's not just about this one case. The outcome here could affect how information is shared or withheld in future cases across Indiana and potentially even beyond.
For any of those people listening today, what do you think our listeners can take away from this story?
I think there are several key takeaways. First, it's crucial to understand that we all have the right to request information from our government. These laws exist to keep our institutions accountable and transparent. Second, it's a reminder of the complex ethical considerations that go into journalism, especially when it comes to true crime reporting. And I suppose it's also a reminder of how important it is to be an informed citizen, right?
Absolutely. Understanding our rights and the laws that protect them is crucial for maintaining a healthy democracy. It's also important to think critically about the information we consume, especially when it comes to sensitive topics like criminal cases.
Well, this has certainly been an eye-opening discussion. As always, it's fascinating to see how these big ideas play out in specific situations, especially when you have someone as experienced in so many ways on both aspects of the judicial system. From bail enforcement to prison, IDs say that makes him an expert because he has experiences that not many people in the world have.
Couldn't agree more. And we hope our listeners will take away a renewed appreciation for the importance of public records laws and investigative journalism. Until next time, this is Alliston, alongside our guest today, Roger Whitaker, and in assisting Greeno with these stories, I always want to keep reminding you to stay curious and stay informed. Go ahead and close us out, Anthony. Roger, thanks for joining and offering some questions and helping discuss the implications of the FOIA request.
Hey, thank you both for allowing me to join and for educating me on the laws governing public access. In my final thought, Indiana is way behind in the times. Time to become more modernized. Otherwise, the world will leave you behind. Peace out, Greeno and Alliston.
Not a problem, brother. Thanks for listening, everyone. Alliston, thanks for helping me explain what is going on in the case updates. But before we go, can you tell me what true crime cases we will be discussing tomorrow night on the podcast?
I was already thinking of moving over to talk about another known predator.
Who might that be?
None other than one of the most famous rap artists of the century.
You gotta be kidding me.
Kidding, absolutely not. But sounds like you've had one too many puffs on that joint of yours. Okay, I'll quit puffing and start talking about the other puff.
Puff Daddy.
Roger, you mean P. Diddy.
This is going to be interesting.
Thank you for listening to the True Crime Rewind podcast. With Anthony Greeno and Alliston IE humans and artificial intelligence collide. In a world shrouded in mystery and murder, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future.